Hello?
Coach, what have you seen just from Minnesota's offense and maybe how different they are as far as them throwing the ball more than maybe they have in the past?
Yeah, I can tell you, I coached there years ago. It's kind of irrelevant to your question, but like the type of kids they have, tough, hard-nosed, gritty kids, and having watched them through the years, their ability to run the football and kind of control the line of scrimmage with their big O linemen and their good backs. Now they got a good young quarterback, a couple good receivers that you can see. I know the back's been hurt a little bit, so they've gotten away from the run game, and then they've been down in some games to get away from the run game. But I think they're going to try to run the football on us again. I think you'd be a fool not to try that on us. We've got to try to establish the line of scrimmage and then do a good job of affecting, this young quarterback who, makes a lot of good throws.
What was your impression of the tackling on Saturday and the areas in which you did or didn't?
Yeah, it was interesting. We had a conversation. We were in the pregame watching Maryland's guys, really more specifically the receivers in the pregame, and we knew we were going to play a little bit more zone against Maryland, just because we felt like that would affect the quarterback a little more, and we knew we were going to have to tackle them. And the receivers are big and strong, and I think Sierra did a good job at times of making some tackles, but we did miss a few early in the game to allow them to continue drives, but it's just something we're always going to keep working on. It's going to be easy today.
What's the challenge of a short week? Just, kind of condensing things a day less.
Yeah, the number one thing is everything's about getting the players' bodies right. So the good thing is our opponent's coming off a short week as well. So it's not like they have an advantage on us over that. And it's such a state of mind. Having again coached in the NFL for 10 years, you got those Thursday games. That's a 3-day break. At least these guys, it's an extra really day and a half. And really, when you look at it with us, it's about a 12-hour difference from an 11 o'clock start on Saturday. So it's really not that big of a deal as far as how we're approaching our week. But it really comes back to getting the bodies right earlier on the week and making sure while they're getting their bodies and their minds right, we're still like practicing like we did today. We went out there and we were physical in pads and doing what we do, working on tackling, getting off blocks, being physical in our rush plan, and then putting another good day tomorrow with our, kind of locking up first and second down and then getting into some third down stuff. But I think the approach is the approach, and the game's coming on Friday. We always used to tell those guys, like the game, they're going to play the game on Thursday, so you better go out there and play well, especially with how we're playing. So
you coach a lot of different spots, including the NFL. This is a travel question. The way that Nebraska travels and the kind of care they put into it, is that equal to what you experience in the NFL?
In what regard? Like how we
Quality of travel.
Oh yeah, it's insane. This program is elite as far as how they treat the players. I get on them more about not taking advantage of all the luxuries that they're provided as far as meals and the things they do for recovery. And I think sometimes you got to put time in to do it, but there's nothing here that's provided from a resource standpoint, from a personnel to help the players while they're here. As far as, like I said, nutrition, our strength staff, our folks that are in the sports science helping them get ready, how we travel in terms of, everybody's got their own seat for the most part on the bus, how we travel in the plane. If a player comes up here and gives you any type of excuse, they're full of it. I mean, it's a first-class organization as far as that's concerned, and quite frankly, better than some NFL teams as far as that.
John, obviously your pass D numbers have been so good, and especially those first 5 games, just like abnormally low as far as what you were allowing. What kind of, like, as you're at the halfway point of the season, what kind of stuff, what kind of numbers, like, do you look at yards per attempt? Do you look at interception rate, like pressures? What's the most important stuff that you look at when you're gauging how well this team's playing pass defense?
The number one thing is affecting the quarterback, and I think that's the number one thing we did not do last week. And that's not just with the rush, but please do not interpret that the wrong way. That when you're defending the pass in passing situations, let's say there's a couple passes they did a nice job in some rundowns of throwing the ball to the back in the flat, or they hit that tight end on the seam route, which was contested, but they won that play. But in pass defense, it's really like you have to get into the head of the quarterback with how you're disguising your coverages, how you're rushing, how you're presenting the rush. Is it a 4-man rush look? Is it a 5-man? Is it a 6-man rush look? And then when you talk about your coverages, you really have man, zone, and match. And we probably played a little bit too much zone last week. I probably got a little I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but like that's more on me in terms of as the game got further along and we played better in the second half with our pass defense, really, and collectively played better in the second half. I just got a little bit more aggressive with how I was calling it, a little bit more like kind of an effort mentality, and I think that's the way we have to play. It plays to our players' strengths. So you got to balance the three: the playing zone, playing some match stuff, and then playing man. But usually, when it comes down to it, you're affecting the quarterback in your challenging routes, and when you're doing that, you're going to have if you're able to do that, you're going to have a good pass defense. If you can't, then any quarterback is just going to kind of pick you apart because you're not hitting them or you're not affecting the design of passes.
Sorry. Williams had 8 quarterback pressures this weekend. I mean, how well is he playing? And I guess how impressive is that kind of a number?
Yeah, well, me and Keith were talking about that the other day. I've never really put much into quarterback pressures because I think that's an interpretative stat. That, like, what I put a lot into is how many hits on the quarterback are we getting? We're physically hitting them. Because a quarterback just slightly scrambling, they're going to give the closest person there, like, a pressure. So I didn't think we really affected the quarterback. So when I saw that, I was like, that kind of, I would say in a way, maybe kind of re-emphasized to me that stat. So Williams is playing good at times. He had a sack. He had the quarterback in his hands, and he let him get away. We had a couple times where we were close enough and let him get away, which we've got to stop doing. When we're back there, we've got to finish the play because you hit the quarterback, you put him behind the sticks, you hit the quarterback, you get him on the ground. That changes the next play. So with regards to Williams, we like how he's progressing. Still has a long way to go just as far as finishing plays, but definitely excited with how he's playing. But I would like our guys, our defensive line, our rushers, whoever they like to hit the quarterback more because a hit on the quarterback affects them a lot more than a pressure or a hurry, however those stats come to play.
How many hits per game do you want your team to have?
5, minimum.
What'd you get on in this game?
1. And then Will had 1 at the end that they didn't give to him. I think they, the hit when they completed that 20-yard completion on the second to last play of the game or whatever, when they caught it on I think that third down, Will hit him pretty good there. So that was a legitimate quarterback hit. But like hitting him and knocking him on the ground is what you're trying for. So 5 at least. And if you look at the Michigan State game, that was the key to that game. We were knocking the hell out of quarterback. Sorry, that affected him. That affected how he played that game. And if you're doing that, you're going to have a good day at the office in the pass defense. If you don't, you're not. That's just a simple, and that's a collective thing. That's not just your D line. That's all of us and me putting together the right plan to go do that.
How many times did you guys bring more than 4 at the quarterback last week?
Not enough.
So did you play more coverage? Is that safe to say? And what goes into your approach each week? Like, hey, we're going to play 7 back versus bring.
Well, the approach is, can we get there with 4? And if you think you can get there with 4, you're going to design a plan to do that, whether it's straight rushes or, some games that you run. And then kind of like I said, as I started to see, like, we're not getting there with 4, then you have to all right, we have to dial up 5. And we started to do that a little bit more in the second half. And then, the last couple conversions we had, we actually rushed 3 and dropped out 8, but played man-to-man and did some things that affected the quarterback and got him off the spot. So that's what I have to figure out. That's what I have to do more of to help these guys if we're not able to just get there with a 4-man rush.
That's twice now this year. The defense has ended the game in those 2-minute drill situations. What does that do for, I guess, the confidence of just how comfortable they feel in those situations?
I hope that it is. The Cincinnati game obviously came down to us making a play to win the game, and then this game, after our offense put us ahead, came down. And if you really look at it, I think we gave up a touchdown the first drive of the second half, and then we had the fourth quarter shutout, which we always have as a goal, but we also had a shutout for the rest of the third quarter. So we really, I think, put together a pretty good second half and just made some adjustments of how we're going to approach the quarterback. And then obviously as it came down to that last drive, if you look at those 6 plays of that last drive, I think 4 of them we clearly were at or around the quarterback to affect him and make him throw it either before he wanted to or to the wrong guy. So that's just what we have to collectively as a defense, players and coaches keep trying to do, because when you do that, you'll be playing all right.
How have you seen Dasan McCullough just impact this defense this year, especially with Matt mentioning that Willis McGahee might redshirt now this year too?
Yeah, so Dasan's been a great addition. Plays really, really hard. Can do multiple things, can rush the passer, can drop in coverage, can spy the quarterback. He was impactful on 2 of those plays I talked about. We 3-man rushed, and he just kind of beat the center one-on-one to get him off the spot, but we were able to drop out 8. So he's a guy that I've moved around a lot. You guys, if you've watched the film or you've seen the games, you can see he's playing a lot of different spots. And the more players you have like that can impact the other team, putting them in different spots, different locations, they can do a lot of different jobs. I think that's good for your defense. So players like him and players similar to him are players we're always going to be looking for to develop and to add into this program.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.